Hey everybody, it's Natalie B. McKenzie with The Whole Woman, and we're back for fall 2023. That's right, our hiatus is over, and just like the kids, it's back to school, and for some of us adults, back to work. But we've got so much to share, so much to tell, and we are glad that you took the time to come out and join us. So this season is being brought to you live by Diageo North America. You're going to hear much more about what we're doing with Diageo North America and the Drink IQ program. So stay tuned, tell a friend. If they're not watching, hit them up on a text and let them know we are here for them. Our guest this week, ladies and gentlemen, is someone that I consider a dear friend. But more importantly, she is one heck of a powerhouse. That's about all I can say. Her resume reads like an accomplisher's accomplishments. She is an award-winning human resource executive. She's been featured in Savoy magazine amongst movers and shakers in corporate America, as well as in the Rolling Out magazine. She's a diversity executive, and she has written and contributed to newspaper articles and to many other articles. She's been listed as an emerging leader all the way back to 2008. And of course, you know, this is 2022. So she's been at this game for a while. She's been recognized by Diversity MBA list of top 100 women of influence back in 2020. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome today's guest. She is currently the head of corporate responsibility and director of partnerships and community engagement at Diageo North America, Dr. Danielle Robinson. Welcome, Dr. Danielle Robinson.
Good evening, Natalie. How are you?
It's such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have to say this to you because, you know, my mom always say familiarity breeds contempt. And it is so easy to forget that you are a well-seasoned, accomplished executive and one who's been at it, fighting the good fight for a long time. And we want to acknowledge that today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that.
So how have you been doing now that all is back to school and back to work and life is officially in full swing?
I was going to say in full chaos. Yes. I'm great. Trying to balance. Each day is a different day. We always say there's no true balance, just different choices.
There you go. Wow. The balance is in knowing what choice is the best choice for that day. I'm going to remember that. Absolutely. So Danielle, tell me a little bit about yourself, because the resume is amazing. The accomplishments are great. The accolades are never ending. And thanks for watching, Patricia, are never ending. But tell us about Danielle. Who is this little chocolate girl? Where is she from? What went into the making of her? And tell us about your family influence. What was going on in your young life? Where were you born? And tell us about your parents.
I was born in Teaneck, New Jersey. I'm a Jersey girl. So through and through, still have my 201 phone number for anybody who remembers the area code 201. And I was raised by my mom, but knew my dad quite well as well, but lived with my mom. And they divorced when I was very young, and came from a family of entrepreneurs, business folks. So grew up, my mom worked for the Federal Reserve Bank of New York for 36 years, started as an intern and stayed there her entire career.
Wow.
So was raised knowing loyalty to companies and really getting in and making your mark. My grandfather owned a cleaners in Harlem for 20 something years. My grandmother also owned a bodega for about 30 years. So always entrepreneurship. My uncle was in the music business. My aunt and uncle owned Sugar Hill Records in Inglewood, New Jersey. So come from a family of musicians and music as well. So really it was, I had many choices to make as far as a career was concerned.
Wow. So you're an only child. You grew up in the suburbs of New Jersey, North Jersey. We know it well. Time and place is so relevant. Let's talk about what was happening in Teaneck and in Englewood, New Jersey, and as a member of the Sugar Hill. I mean, come on.
Sugar Hill, Isley Brothers, Teaneck Records. I mean, That's all in my background, in my history. Really, it was the civil rights movement resurged. You know, we had some issues around just diversity in Teaneck. You know, it was from the moment Blacks moved to Teaneck, New Jersey, with the real estate market. You know, we were on one side of Teaneck and our Caucasian counterparts were on the other. It's much more of a melting pot these days, but back then it was very distinct. You know, high Jewish population in Teaneck, so really learned early on about the power of diversity and melding with different cultures and backgrounds. But very cool place to live. We were right next to New York City, so you know, we had our recreation time in Harlem and New York, so at the pinpoint of culture. So great place to grow up, actually.
So I'm thinking at when you put it into perspective from the time that you were growing up in, were you in public schools or private school?
Public schools.
Let's talk about how that influenced you in a Teaneck, New Jersey, in North Jersey at a time such as that when most everybody was in public school.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't private school was not really a thing. I mean, we did have some peers that went to private school, but for the most part, public school was where everybody went. And, you know, it was the place to be. Like I said, I, you know, got very involved in school. I was very active in my extracurricular activities. I was dancing. I was a Terpsy for those who are from North Jersey, dancing the Terpsy dance troupe at Miss Miller. Hello, Miss Miller. I was president of the senior class, homecoming queen. You know, I got into all of the accolades of what people do in high school. I really enjoyed it.
So it sounds like you had a full calendar going through high school, which I know you still keep a full calendar.
I was going to say nothing's changed. It's nothing's changed.
Were you more artistic or more academic, though you were fully engaged and involved? Were you artistic or academically driven?
I would say about 50-50. So I was probably a, you know, B, low A student, so fairly good student, but very active, you know, as an actress. I was with Shirley Grant Management at the time, as was my now husband, and we both were acting and following each other, you know, side by side. He more successful than me in that vein, but I was there. And, you know, but I also was, you know, really involved in school. I still loved school. This was why I went and got my Ph.D. So, you know, still very academic to this day.
Let's talk about that Ph.D. Let's talk about that academic career, where you went off to after Teaneck High School, and what was driving your choices in terms of what you majored in and your studies.
Well, I started off at the Mason Gross School of Arts at Rutgers University, majoring in theater, but I was also working, which was not allowed at that time when you were a student there. So they asked me to transfer to Livingston College, which was also part of the Rutgers system. And I then moved into major in corporate, into communications, which was close to theater. I thought it was close. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. A lot of people majored in communications and wanted to do television and, you know, commentate. That wasn't really what I wanted to do necessarily. I really still thought I was going to be a stage and film actress. Mm-hmm. But as I started to get more into my academics and started to get jobs, like real jobs, working with a real paycheck, going to, you know, go-sees and auditions was not really appealing to me. I said, I think this work thing might be, you know, where I end up. And I ended up in publishing, actually. My first job was at Simon & Schuster Publishing. So, yeah, so did that for a few years and then ended up at Unilever in CPG, and the rest is history as an HR professional.
Unilever is currently headquarters here in Bergen County. Were they in Bergen County at the time?
They were, and they were also here in Connecticut, which they still have offices in Trumbull, I believe. So I worked in the New Jersey location for a number of years, and then they transferred me to a global role, which had me to move to Connecticut. So that's how I ended up in Norwalk, Connecticut.
Wow. Now, you said something earlier we have to double back to because I love a good love story. You were in school acting, child actress, and you met your husband. Let's talk about that.
Dwayne and I met in kindergarten. So I've known Dwayne since I was about 5. And the way he tells the story, we met on a school bus. So, but I'm a little slow to the uptick. So it took me probably another 30 some odd years before I had a clue that he was actually interested. So we didn't start dating until 2008, but we celebrate our 14-year wedding anniversary tomorrow. So very exciting.
Congratulations.
Good move. Good move.
It took you 30-some years to catch up.
Yeah, I'm a little slow. And he's patient.
Clearly. So, okay, you started Unilever. How long did you stay at Unilever? Because again, it sounds to me like you had quite a trajectory there.
I was at Unilever for about 8-9 years, and I started off in human resources. I actually started off as working as a publishing assistant. So I worked on computer science textbooks. So any textbooks that you saw back from that period probably had my name in the binder. But then moved into human resources. I really had an interest in people and understanding how companies work and how people are hired and what roles they're hired for. So they took me on just out of the blue. I walked in literally cold and said, I want a job. I want to work in here. And they're like, what? And the head of HR at the time, she was a Black woman, and she brought me into her office and she talked to me for a little bit and she made me her assistant. So I became an HR assistant and worked my way up from there. I actually had the opportunity to work with Roosevelt Thomas, who's known as the father of diversity, which is how I got started in diversity.
Wow. Now, give me a little bit of context and tell me year. I know we're pushing it, asking a woman to date things, but
that's okay.
we're talking about diversity in HR at a time when diversity still was not a buzz.
Not at all. Not at all. He was just actually starting the Roosevelt Institute. So we're talking 1992, 93. So it was just at the beginning. And we were just creating it. There was no such thing as employer resource groups. None of that was a buzzword at that time. It was really getting organizations to talk about. And we were looking at it from the aspect of the books that were being written, since I was in publishing. So what kind of authors are we working with? Who are we bringing into our organizations? But that conversation was just starting. So I had an opportunity to be at the beginning of that movement.
Let's talk about how you've seen human resources evolve through the years, because, you know, it sounds to me like you got involved when it was still a little bit of the personnel department before the lawyers started messing with it. Definitely personnel.
And I was in the EEO department. So just to give you even more of how dated that is, it was part of affirmative action and EEO. So I was doing affirmative action plans and all of that. And that's where diversity sat, which now we know it's decoupled from that.
Okay. So you've been with Diageo North America how many years?
Going on 19 years.
Wow. So you've really grown up in this space. How have you seen the shift over at Diageo North America? And what is diversity like in this organization versus where you've been before?
Well, it's much more intentional. I came in here as the head of diversity. So they were, even at that point, 19 years ago, looking at that as a area of focus for them. So it was, my remit was really to bring in more diverse hires, to make sure that we're in diverse places of culture, and where people that look like us are congregating. So I feel like Diageo is much more intentional in that space. I'm having a good time. I've had a great time from the beginning, the time I've got here up until today. We're in a business that is with people from cradle to grave, basically. So we're at baby showers, we're at weddings, graduations, funerals. I mean, from beginning to end throughout weddings. So it's a great business to be in. It's a solid business to be in, and a very entrepreneurial environment.
You know, I never thought about it that way, but it's quite accurate the way you said it. Most people may not make the association with Diageo North America for who you are and what you do. And usually we want to talk more about you, the person, but I feel like what you do over at Diageo represents who you are so much. So I'm breaking a little bit of form here. Tell us a little bit about Diageo, what they do, what you do over there, and why is it you're with us from cradle to grave?
We are the largest spirits and beer company in the world. Some of our brands that people may be aware of are Johnny Walker, Crown Royal, Bailey's, Tanqueray, Ciroc, Kettle One, De Leon, Casamigos, Aviation Gin. I mean, we go from all areas of the portfolio. And our mission and purpose is about celebrating life every day, everywhere. And we try to do that responsibly. So responsibility and responsible consumption and service is core to who we are as a business.
Speaking of responsibly serving and doing business responsibly, I saw you spearheaded, or your department spearheaded. I want to be careful because spearheaded the initiative with the historically Black colleges and universities during 2020. Let's talk a little bit about how you're reaching out in the community and how you're engaging the community.
So yes, that was absolutely a team effort, actually a company effort. To do something on that magnitude is absolutely bigger than one person. But it was at during the time of the George Floyd incident that happened, unfortunately. And we wanted to, as a company, with the pandemic happening, it was just so much happening at once. And we had a fund called the Raise the Bar Fund, where we had a fund that was geared towards helping businesses and restaurants get ready for setting themselves up for COVID-19 protocol. But in the US, with the regulatory requirements that we have within the alcohol industry, we could not do that here. So we wanted to do something around racial and social injustice. And our employee resource group, the head group here at Diageo, came up with what we like to call a manifesto to the company to just talk about how we should approach the Black and Brown communities going forward. And a part of that was supporting historically Black colleges and universities. So we made a $10 million to start donation to 25 HBCUs to start endowment funds for gap fund scholarships for students.
Wow, that's deliberate. that was quite deliberate. So Danielle, in your role over at Diageo, it just sounds to me like it's all encompassing, sounds like a lot of fun, but where do you get to show up best as your person? I know you have a husband. Do you have a family, and how are you able to manage that as part of your life and balance?
Yes, I have a husband, like I said, I'm 14 years tomorrow, and I have a precocious 12-year-old who I always say is 3 kids in one, named Miles McClary, and that's it. That's a full life. I spent the last 7.5 years as a caregiver for my mother and my grandmother, who both just transitioned in the last 18 months, and so that I'm still recovering from, I think, mentally and physically and emotionally. But that's it. You really, with, the job that I have at Diageo, my community work that I do with a number of nonprofits and boards that I sit on, and raising a 12-year-old Black boy in America today, that is a full-time job.
I wonder how you have time for all the other things you do. I know you're part of the Links Incorporated. I know you're part of Jack and Jill of Americas, and I see you're involved in the arts. You remain involved in the arts. What's your favorite thing to do when you're not working? What do you?
Oh, probably crafting. I find a lot of therapy in crafting and making things for my home and for my friends, and some of them I sell. I just started painting during the pandemic. Everybody was doing sip and paint, and so I kept painting. So I have a number of canvases, around my house that I'm working on. But I find that very therapeutic to do art. How that shows up. How art shows up and talks about and exhibits, what's important to you.
Fabulous. I remember you sharing some of your pieces with me and telling us how you spent your time on vacation while taking my phone calls. Still don't understand how you call that vacation, but that's a whole other story. You mentioned we talked about the HBCUs and the endowment that you started with them, but in your very deliberate attempt to connect and outreach with the HBCUs, how we've managed to partner is you have asked the Whole Woman to curate our fall retreat for the female presidents of HBCUs. Tell us what you hope to accomplish with that.
I'm very excited about this partnership, Natalie. I feel as if our You know, female leaders in HBCU should be celebrated. The jobs that they do are tremendous, and the things that they give back to our community really needs to be celebrated. And they, you know, should have a moment to gather and network amongst themselves, but also just take a deep breath to celebrate what they've already accomplished. So I'm very excited about curating an event that just celebrates them for a weekend.
Awesome. Well, we are honored and excited to do this. I think I am learning so much about HBCUs during this process because I am not a product of HBCUs. And because I'm an immigrant, I'm so late to the party.
We're allies. We're allies.
Yeah. We're late to the party, but I'm having a really grand time, and learning about the leaders of the female leaders of the different institutions is quite a feat. And of course, the fact that we have Claudine Gay up at Harvard really puts the spotlight on the fact that women are leading and we're grooming tomorrow's leaders. So we're excited for that and very excited for what you're doing over there. So Danielle, tell us a little bit more about where you see yourself. What do you hope to accomplish over the next 2 to 5 years in your role, but then outside of Diageo, because you're truly an example of the whole woman. You're living a full life and you're fully present in all of it.
Thank you for that. Where do I see myself? I feel that there's an opportunity on the horizon for Black and Brown people to literally take over the hospitality industry. You know, during the pandemic, we lost a number of jobs. Those were some of the frontline workers that lost their jobs overnight. Restaurant workers, bartenders, servers, hostesses. And, you know, a lot of people didn't come back to the industry. And so there's so many jobs available, from general management, running hotels, that I feel like there's an opportunity there. And so I have a renewed focus across our HBCU campuses to really talk about and get students to think about hospitality as a viable career. And my husband is a reverend. So, you know, I am a Christian woman as well. So really, you know, owning my way in the church. And, you know, I'm really honing in on my personal relationship with the man above.
I love it. Well, I have to tell you, one of the things I spent my summer during my hiatus is really taking stock of my spiritual life and how am I showing up in the world? Am I showing up as a lukewarm woman of God, or am I showing up as a bold woman of God? And how am I using this platform to really not necessarily proselytize, but to show that we are different because we operate under different rules and guidelines. So that's exciting to hear. I'm excited to see what happens for you. Your son is 13.
12.
12, excuse me, I'm pushing it.
That's okay. He thinks he's 13.
Does that put him in 7th grade or
6th grade? He is in private school. So I did a little bit of a switcheroo that I grew up with. We did private school. Okay.
Hey, listen, that's a good thing. What are his interests and what does he get you dragged out to do after work every day?
Football. He is a football player all day, all night. Loves it. If he doesn't end up playing pro, he'll probably be a commentator of some sort. So absolutely.
And so, Danielle, here we are. We're embarking upon a brand new partnership, which I think is going to be really exciting. Diageo North America is, you know, putting their money where their mouth is. They're really showing up in the community. Your diversity game is tight over there. Your leadership, your female leadership is strong. How is that so in what we perceive as such a male dominant environment?
Well, it's changing. I mean, we have so many different programs and initiatives across the industry to make sure that we're reaching out and diversifying the industry. You know, it has been not diversified for so long, but you have women leading the way. We have clear goals around having 50% representation of women in senior leadership and 45% ethnic diversity. So, you know, with intentional goals like that and all the programs that we have to support that, we're very serious about it. And you can look at our leadership team to see that. We have a global female president as well as a North American female president. So, and they're rocking.
They are definitely rocking that. You had your global head transitioned earlier this year, and when I really took a look at the company was so much, and I mean this in the right way, so much about him. It was about this person who had a vision to be inclusive. And you all have been talking about, marketing to women since 2012. I mean, forward thinking if there's ever a company to do so. Tell me about some of the initiatives you have that are really targeting females as we socialize.
We have so many, and Ivan, he was the most amazing, not just leader and company CEO, but an amazing person. I knew him personally. He hired me, and he was who he was privately. He was publicly very compassionate, very in tune, knew everybody's name, understood the business through and through. So to work behind somebody like that is definitely something to behold. And he helped us start, Learning Skills for Life, which is our community program where we go into underserved and underemployed communities of color and train them in bartending, hospitality, and entrepreneurship. That program is geared to women in many of our countries, including here in the U.S. We're about to launch a program next week, actually, in Chicago with the YWCA, which will be focused exclusively on women entrepreneurs. We have Water for Life and different programs globally that are focused on women, especially in Africa, because they're the ones who are basically going to get the water from miles and miles away, coming back and cooking and cleaning and all of that stuff. So we want to uphold and empower women around the globe because they are the cornerstone of our culture.
Wow. Where can we learn more about your Skills for Life program?
So Skills for Life, Learning Skills for Life, you can learn about on our Diageo Bar Academy website, which is a website that is free. And that's what I love about Diageo. All of our educational programs and platforms are free and open to the public. We have a bartending class on there that's about maybe 8-10 hours of content, and you can go out and get a bar job once you go through that program. And then we have the Diageo Bar Academy program, which is it's www.diageobaracademy.com. So Learning Skills for Life is under the training tab there. And then once you graduate from that, you can go on to the Diageo Bar Academy for the seasoned bartender. And that changes every month, the curriculum there. But really, really top notch. And then Drink IQ is for the novice that really wants to know more about, alcohol consumption, alcohol service, and things of that nature. Drink IQ has a bunch of articles, quizzes, just to make sure that you know how you're being served, what you're being served, and understand what a standard serve is.
Very helpful, very user-friendly and informative, which is some of the qualities that I truly appreciated about the company. We're proud to be partners with Diageo North America. I'm even prouder to be partnering with you, Danielle, because with your commitment to serving the community, I'm sure we'll be able to really have an impact, serve, and make a difference while we're having a good time. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been talking with none other than Dr. Danielle Robinson of Diageo North America. For those of you who don't know, Diageo is the spirit company, and they are the ones who purvey for us things such as Johnny Walker. She said it, Ciroc. Let me see. I can remember a few.
Kettle One, Tanqueray, Aviation Gin, Casamigos, De Leon. I mean, Don Julio. List goes on and on.
And the list goes on.
Well, and non-alc, which is very important. So for those who don't drink, we also make Seedlip and Guinness 00. So we have something for everyone.
That's right. That's what I forgot. Seedlips. That's the one I was trying to remember. Our initiative over at The Whole Woman is putting sips on lips. Yeah, don't tell anyone. So every time we talk about Diageo, we'll talk about, have you heard of our Sips on Lips program? Unofficial. So, ladies and gentlemen, you might be wondering about some other things. This year we're back. This season we're back. And of course, we're back with our partnership with Hope Wade. After the show, we'll show you what I'm wearing. And thank you, Hope Wade, because she's our wardrobe sponsor for this fall season. So I'll be wearing more fabulous styles and designs by none other than Hope Wade Designs. So yes, I will be out of my box, and it's going to be big, grand, and colorful because Hope Wade Designs pushes us to do something horticulture every day. We're talking with Danielle Robinson, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Danielle Robinson from Diageo North America, and they are our 2023 sponsor for Living Life Authentically for the fall season. And for fall 2023, we will bring you our retreat specifically curated for HBCU female leaders located at LBI National Gulf and Resort. So this season is packed full of new partnerships because that will be the location for our retreats moving forward. I'm Natalie B. McKenzie, and I'm your host. I wish you enough life to live, enough joy to give, enough love to share. I wish you enough. Good night.